So I've been playing in a tournament for about 4 to 5 years, and then recently I've started competing in Guitar Hero, which is a very mainstream game that you wouldn't think that there would be a lot of hardcore competition for, but it actually is a really big scene and there is a really big community for that. So I'm the best female player and one of the top players in the nation right now. So I competed in WCG and a lot of the tournaments as well.
Okay. So I'm going to ask each of you to think back, some of you don't have to think back very far, to how you got into competitive gaming and what went into the decision there, what made you decide to go pro. And we can change the order up if you want. Stermy, you want to go first this time?
Me?
Yeah, you. The computer there I'm pointing at.
Okay. Well, when I started competing back in 2001, I was doing it pretty much as a hobby. I was just having fun, go at these tournaments with friends, and just enjoying it. And in 2002, I'm a really competitive guy, and with my friends, I decided to compete for the World Cyber Games Italian qualifier, which is pretty much the Olympics of video games. So I decided to practice really hard and give it a shot, and I managed to win the qualifier and being the best Italian player. And then at the age of 15, I flew to Korea to represent my country. And from there on, I just enjoyed it so much, and just the experience to travel around the world and meet new people, make new friends, and actually compete at a really high level made me keep doing it. And one day, when I realized that I was one of the best in the world, and I started getting sponsor offers and support, then I saw an opportunity there, and I took it and I kept doing it, and eventually I became a real professional player.
Bardia?
I pretty much started the same way, just playing for fun. When I was 15 years old. I started competing in online tournaments with my friends actually, and we ended up actually starting winning those online tournaments. Which pretty much led me to start thinking about the WCG and those qualifiers. So I entered the WCG qualifier, which is also online. I ended up winning that. After got me the invitation to the national tournament for the USA and WCG. I ended up finishing I think like top 3 that year. 2004 maybe. And that's how I just found the competitive game. Just kept going on tournaments. Eventually, we started coming up with teams. Smaller, deeper teams. One was Aftershocks, which was one I played for. Then that led to other tournaments. CGS came up. So I did CGS and actually landed on Allesandro.
Well, the question was about what motivated the decision to play in tournaments. But for me, there was no decision. There was no moment where it was just an organic thing. So I played fighting games a lot just for fun. I enjoyed them. And this was the era of arcades. So talking about local competition. And at different places around the world, but the country or your state or whatever, there's different pockets of competition. So each pocket hears about the other and wants to travel, wants to see how good they are. The internet was new at that time, so there's a lot of trash talking about who's the best or whatever. And my friends organized the first landmark tournament in that community, and it was in Sunnyvale, California, which is right by here. So it's not like what motivated my decision to go to that. It's just obviously you go to that. I'm part of that. I'm part of that community. I'm part of that quest to figure out which pocket of the players are really the best. So I went to that, and then that led to organizing many more tournaments. I just sort of fell into it and never really left.
I actually started competitive gaming in around 2004. I'm not the typical gamer. I didn't grow up playing a lot of video games. I was mostly focused on school, and academics, and then once I actually got into college, that's when I started competing. And I played computer games or shooter games for fun, really, and I didn't really think about competing until Real Tournament 3 was about to be released. I started practicing a lot. I was already pretty good, but I really wasn't into the competitive scene. But with Tournament 3 being released soon, I decided that's something that I really wanted to get into and start competing. And then at the time, I had been sponsored or picked up by a sponsor team, Evil Jesus, and they were able to send me to a lot of events around the country. And
what makes this a sport for you guys? How do you define it as a sport in your head, or when people ask you to justify it as a sport?
Well, I definitely think it's a sport because, I mean, the amount of time and dedication and practice that you put into it is, for me, I practice 6 to 7 hours before competition, and I take it very seriously. I mean, I played sports in high school, track, cheerleading. I don't get to that sport, but I had the same practice resume and same focus that you have to put in because you are competing against an opponent, and you do have to take it very seriously if you want to be playing at top level.
No one has ever asked me to justify games as a sport, so I wasn't aware it was a question. If anything, we're lacking a word here. Sport is not really the right word. People try to come up with e-sport as a replacement. I don't really like that either, but I don't have anything to offer. But let me tell you why I think it's a bad word. So imagine if you're playing a StarCraft tournament, and if you were taller than the other guy, you started with more minerals or something. That would be ridiculous. That's not how StarCraft works. You bring your skill into the game, but not physical attributes like how strong you are, tall you are, things like that. That's what sports are about. Sports are a mixture of your physical attributes plus mental. But what we have, I think is more interesting in sports. I guess I'm in a minority opinion, but I think it's almost a derogatory term to call these mental games sports. I really much prefer them to actual sports. I think that's really good to do when the game is based on physical sports. But yeah, I mean, maybe sports should justify themselves to us.
Well, I know that just competitively, say FIFA and all the other games I play, but more FIFA, playing that competitively, the training physical is much. I played the hockey pretty much the last 10 years. I played at UCLA, and I know the practice that goes into hockey is pretty much the same that I have to do for FIFA. So constantly I'm working on training, my weak points, corner kicks, passes, long balls, shooting, etc. So that's how I would justify it as e-athleticism or e-sports. Just the time and training that it takes to actually acquire that skill, hold on to that skill, and keep preparing yourself to be the best.
Stermy?
I personally don't think that people really understand how much dedication and practice and will to actually reach your own goal. And that it's in gaming because personally I practice a lot, and I had to do a lot of sacrifices for actually became really good. But at the same time, when you go to tournaments, it's not just about playing a video game. It's about also being the right mindset. Doing a lot of sport activities to keep yourself in shape. And I mean, if chess and poker might be considered as a sport, I don't understand why gaming, which requires a lot of eye-hand coordination and a lot of different kind of skills. I don't really know what to say in English, but I don't mind. that's why I believe gaming is a sport, because it requires the same skills as in real sports.
Not bad. So, yeah.
So I have a question on this thing, just on the sports issue. I'm thinking like a couple of different sports. Like one sport is gymnastics, where if you want to get into a meet, you have to practice probably 9 months to a year before you ever compete, right? Then think of something, I don't know, what would be a natural sport, maybe sprinting. You could imagine somebody just walking up to the track, and it's just naturally fast. Like you're saying, it's naturally athletic, boom, he's fast. So with the kind of things that you guys are doing, if that's sort of the scale, with the natural, you have some natural aptitude, you just do it, versus you just have to practice a lot before you can even really think about competing. Where would you put the activities that you engage in? Because I notice you're mentioning practice a lot when you respond to the sports question. Not so much the athleticism side of sports, but you seem like the practice and the dedication side of it maybe more. And I just wondered if you can imagine somebody just walking up to a tournament in any of the games you're involved in and just winning right off the bat without having practice, or is that practice part of it something that just is up front and you have to do for a long time before you can even compete seriously?
Well, I know that you can't just pick up most of the games and expect to be a pro at it. You can be a quick learner, but you definitely can't be just natural skill that just playing the game. You have to put time to learn the game, to everything about the game, whether it's points or how the physics of the game or the scoring. You have to know the ins and outs of the game, and that doesn't happen in a short amount of time. So I know when I compete, even though I play Guitar Hero, you know the basic 5 buttons that you push over and over again, except they keep coming out with new games and new songs, so you have to learn the songs. You have to be able to play the different types of scales. You have to learn, because there's things called start half, and you have to. It's a lot of memorization. Even in UT, that's something that you have to really practice to maintain the hand-eye coordination, the reflexive, or your reaction to the game. Because if you don't play after a while, your reaction does start to slow down. So, the practice is very important.
This is a very complicated question. So, I think my answer has changed now that I've had more experience and older. I've thought about it more or something. Practice is not important and very important. I mean, it depends exactly what you meant when you were asking. Let me put it another way. So Street Fighter is like the game I play the most in tournaments. And if I were to make a list of all the things that you would need to be able to do, all the skills you have to succeed, to get first place at the national tournament. And you asked me to make that list maybe 10 years ago. I think everything on the list would be a thing inside Street Fighter. You need to be able to do this move and know that this counters this and so on. But if you asked me to do it today, I would have that same list and this much bigger one that has nothing to do with Street Fighter. It has to do with being mentally prepared that day, in that moment, being in the right mindset, having set up the right environment to find competitors to practice with so you can practice, to know the opponent, to study like what kind of personality they have and what kind of things they're likely to do. I mean, even regardless of game, even if that same opponent picked another game, you know that they're just aggressive no matter what, or that they're tricky and deceptive no matter what, or that they rely on exploits and edge cases that no one knows about. There's there's players that are like that, and the set of things you have to know outside of the game, I've just come to realize is so huge that if an expert at one game were to try to take up another, I think he'd be in a pretty good situation, actually. I mean, because of all these things that do transfer from one game to another. So part of the answer to your question is that practice is less important than you might think, because there's so many things that run underneath all these games, and if you got it in one place, you could take it to another. But then, I can't say like you win without any practice. I think there's no game that I know of really that would be true. Like a natural sprinter could win a sprint or something maybe. But maybe a more interesting question, it's almost the same one that you asked, would be not could someone have no practice and then win, but could someone stop practicing for years and years and years and win? I think the answer to that is probably yes. And that's, I think I'm in the minority there, but at least in the world of Street Fighter, like, it seems that you need a certain amount of practice to become a top-level player. I mean, they say you need like 10 years of it in almost any endeavor, whether it's chess or music or whatever. There's a lot of studies on that bring up this 10 years of expertise thing. You could compress your 10 years into 5 years if you practice maniacally, a lot in a short period of time. But once you've developed that sort of repertoire of knowing all the ins and outs of the game and having unconscious responses that are correct, so you don't even have to think and you do the right thing. Once you've built that up, then, I mean, yes, practice is important to keep sharp, but there's that whole other list of things that's outside the game that I was talking about. And the last year's like World Street Fighter Finals at Evolution, I got 5th there and 5th the year before with tough Japanese competition there. And I mean, maybe if I had practiced, I could have gotten, 2nd or 3rd or 1st, or who knows. But I had like virtually no practice. I was able to achieve that both years, and and same with some of my competitors who were at similar placings, same or higher. Even John Choi got 1st, and he had very little practice that year at all. It's that we had reached a level where it's not even so much about that anymore. I didn't even, like, usually you devote yourself to one character in this game. But I played several characters, and I felt it didn't even matter which character I played. It wasn't even about that either. It was just about, can I beat this guy, this opponent, this Japanese guy named Tokido, who plays Seizu and never messes up. And whatever tool I pick to do that with, it's almost incidental. So, to summarize, is practice important? Well, you can't really get to a high level without it. But then once you have it, it's unclear to me how much you need to keep it up. I don't know the answer. I mean, the standard answer is you must practice all the time or else, but I just don't know how true that is. Maybe.
I just throw out that what you're saying is it might be more like maybe music would be a better analogy in some ways than sports. That I think a lot of people would say practice music to get to a certain level with a certain instrument. You probably put it aside for a while and get back a lot of that,
Get it back quickly?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know what music.
Yeah, I know. It's just get into why that's why it's easy for me to say that.
Stermy can't hear when he speaks.
Yeah, I think I agree with Dave when he says that there's a certain level of expertise that you get to. You get to that certain point where your mind is pretty much trained in the way the game is, how you need to respond to certain reactions, moves, etc. As far as sports games go, and as far as FIFA goes, I know that on a year-by-year basis, they're constantly changing the game physics, the ball movements, how the players react, how the ball is separated from the foot. All these factors go into account. So as far as walking up to a tournament, just no practice whatsoever, and trying to win at least a sports or a FIFA tournament, is highly unlikely, which is pretty much highly likely in Street Fighter and so on. But after playing FIFA for so many years, like I said, and like Dave said, you have that expertise to where you know how to react to certain moves, counterattacks, plays, etc. But if you don't know the game, if you haven't played that game as much, say FIFA 09, as much as you play FIFA 08, you practice FIFA 08 all the time, and FIFA 09 comes out, it's pretty much almost starting a new game, depending on whether or not the developer changes game physics, ball movement, shooting, etc. So practice comes in to a huge play there, and every year it's constantly changing. So for me, FIFA 2010 is going to be much more different than FIFA 2009, 2009. So I have to take that into account, knowing that I'm going to have to practice as much as I did for this game as I did for next year's game. If the qualifiers do change drastically or not.
Henry, I'm going to ask you to repeat your question into the mic so that Stermy can hear you and respond. Sorry.
And it's not on yet, so.
Yeah, just flip. There you go.
I don't know if that's.
That's fine.
Okay, the original question was whether,
So check. Can you hear Stermy?
Yeah, not that good.
Not good. So really speak up.
okay, the original question was whether the kind of esports that you do is more like, if you compare to sports, if it's more like a sport where somebody might be naturally gifted and be able to sort of walk in and run a race really quickly and win the race without much practice, or is it more like something like gymnastics where there's usually a huge amount of practice before you can even compete in the sport because you have to learn routines and all that sort of thing. So basically it's about, if we're making an analogy to sports, what role does practice play in that versus just being naturally gifted and being able to do it without practice?
I hope I got it right. Some parts were really confusing because I couldn't hear well, but I think practice is everything really, like any other sport, because if you don't practice you won't go anywhere. And that's pretty much it really. Because if I want to go to a tournament and I haven't been practicing even for 2 months, I will have a really hard time to even play top 8 because the competition is so high. These guys will practice like real athletes. They will not just go to an event unprepared. And you have all these organizations, sponsors, they're not sending you there just to show up. They're sending you there to prove how good you are, So, from a personal point of view, I've been practicing so hard for pretty much the past 6 years. Every event I attended. And practicing is not just playing the game, but it takes so much dedication. And usually, some players do not have the advantage of practicing on land, which is a local network. But so they practice online, which is not the best thing because there's really high latency and the server response time is not good. So yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
We were having some just interference or something, so. Now it's good. It was like an airplane was flying over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, personally, I always do a boot camp. That's how we call it, which is pretty much like reunion. How you say it, gamers that practice at the same place for a month of time before a big event, and during these times we just play the game a lot. I do a lot of sport activities as well, and we study the game, but at the same time, it's kind of like martial arts. Everyone has his own style, so you can't just go to a tournament practicing one person and you think you can win because it's kind of it will not happen. You can't get used to just one style. You need to practice and study so many different styles, and it requires a lot of studies and a lot of timing as well, because for example, the first-person shooters, you need to time items, and you need to have really good high-end coordination. So you gotta study the game, you gotta find the right setting, the right balance that works best for you. So there is so much work going on before preparing for a big event, and personally, I do not believe that if you don't practice, you will win a big event. At least, the really important ones.
Okay. On that note, why don't each of you walk me through an average training routine that you go through? Just tell me what you do, how many hours you spend, what you cycle through, what do you do when you hit a wall?
Okay. I do have a competition coming up, and how I prepare for that is basically I boot camp and I practice the game and all the songs that are going to be in the competition. I'll play, like I said, about 6 to 7 hours if my hands and wrists let me. They don't wear out because it does get tiring after a while. You need breaks, but it's for me in Guitar Hero. It's really about memorization and having the muscle memory and being able to just play it without even thinking about it. And normally I don't really eat or do anything too different. I just practice really hardcore, and I really just get in that mindset and prepare for it without distraction. Or actually, I do try to put in distractions when I am playing, because in a tournament setting, there's noises, there's people walking around, there's cameras in your face. So, at home I do try to mimic that environment a little bit. Try to turn up the TV or something, and just have some distractions so you're kind of used to the tournament environment.
How does it compare to professional music competitions or rehearsal? Because you said you played music.
Yes. It's like Guitar Hero competitions versus the piano competition. Oh, it's completely different. Because it's gaming and there's people walking around versus on piano, it's very...
What about the muscle memory? Is that topical?
Yeah, I think why I was able to pick up the game so quickly within a year and be competing at a top level is because the skills that I retained from piano, be able to hit the chords and moving your fingers fast enough and catching onto the rhythm, and those skills kind of transferred over, and I was able to, pretty much just adapt to the game very easily because of that. The scales is very similar, just the movement of the hands. So.
I have no training exercise or routine. I don't really train at all. But I think I should give an explanation of why that's even possible. So many years ago, I played fighting games all the time, like hours and hours a day. And I had a really unique, environment. And something he mentioned that you can't just play against one play style. You need to play against every possible play style so that you can't be surprised. That's very important in a competitive game. And I played in California, Northern California area. So there's a lot of good players here. The best in this type of game, the best players in the country are in California. There's a pocket in northern, a pocket in southern. And so I was exposed to a lot of the players here, but I also went to MIT on the East Coast. And through tournaments there, we discovered that the players at MIT were the best on the East Coast. And every break, every vacation, I came back here. And so I played this variety of players on the East Coast and this completely different variety of players on the West Coast. And I played at every opportunity, and the MIT arcade on the way to class, so I played there every day. Now that I'm out in the real world, it's a different matter, and if I have an opportunity to play some good opponents, I do, and if I don't, I don't. And now we have online, so I can play online, but again, as you mentioned, we do have lag, and it's not quite the same game. I found that it's much, much better than nothing. It's way better than nothing to play with some lag, depending on... Depends on how much lag we're talking about, right? I'm assuming a decently small amount. It does change the game, but there's still a lot to learn. So I just play when I can, basically. Oh, wait, one more thing. Distractions, and at a tournament there's distractions. Yeah, that's totally true. Playing outside of a tournament and inside of a tournament is completely different. And I didn't get that when I first entered tournaments. I did poorly in one, and John Choi, the guy who won last year, I just mentioned, he told me, oh, you did poorly because you don't understand tournaments. It was one of my first ones. And I said, no, I did poorly for these other reasons. But no, he was right. It's crazy, right? There's just people everywhere, and
What's
everyone's
funny
watching you.
when when we play the PC games, we try to get the best headsets, like the helicopter or people that use and operating helicopters, because it blocks out all the noises. Because you can't hear anything if you don't have the best like sound noise canceling, yeah, because you got the person on the mic and you got people watching you and people talking and yelling and screaming because there's other tournaments going on at the same time with you, and it's so hard to hear. And in some games, sounds are very vital to knowing where your opponents are and knowing when items spawn, and if you can't hear that, that can cost you the game. So.
Yeah, I found that there's all of that is true, and then in addition to that, there's ways to be rattled, like when is it my turn, and just the protocols of playing, and what is the other guy following the rules correctly, or is he cheating me or something? If you've been around the block, you know the protocol, you know what's what, and you don't have to worry about those things anymore. Even I like meet players at tournaments who I'm going to have to play against, and they talk to me, and when early on in my career, if you call it that, I was often suspicious of like, are they trying to learn some secret from me, or something? And I don't know. There's just so many things to worry about, and it never even occurred to me to try to prepare, like you said, by making a noisy environment on purpose. I found the only way to prepare was to go to a lot of tournaments, and now that I've been to a million of them, nothing can faze me. And I don't need headphones. Some players wear them, but I could be on stage with 1,000 people, and the announcer's talking about the mistakes I'm making in the match right at that moment, and it doesn't faze me. It's just doing it a lot.
Yeah, I agree with you guys as far as the environment, noise, and all that goes in account when you're going to get ready for tournament. That's actually a really good way to prepare. I think start using that. As far as my training goes, I do what Stermy does. I usually have a boot camp, probably a week before the actual LAN tournament. See those, that usually helps a lot. Try to have a couple people meet up, fly out, whatever it takes, just to get in one house, one roof, and just play as much as you can. Take breaks here and there, talk about the game. Probably practice around 5 or 6 hours a day, up to 2 weeks before the tournament. More focusing on just replays and watching replays of opponents, how they play. Try to stay away from online gaming or online gameplay as much as I can when it comes to that close to a LAN tournament, because with lag and everything, it's different. Yeah, it's a different game. Your reactions might be delayed LAN-wise if you start playing online gameplay and all that. So I try to stay away from online gameplay as far as that's concerned. Really go hard at looking through replays and looking at my opponent's weaknesses, maybe where their defensive flaws are, what their tendencies are as far as attacking-wise, counter-attacking, what most of their shots are placed. If you can figure those out, that'll help you a lot shutting them down as far as scoring is concerned. I know that that's probably one of the best ways to go, just replays, and practicing. As far as me hitting a wall, I know you mentioned that. As far as hitting a wall during practice, I know for me, corner kicks were a big deal this year. So I couldn't get a corner kick to go in for the life of me, but it took just hours of practice. Pretty much there's training modes in most of the games, and there was one for FIFA where you could just have it, so it's just corner kick after corner kick after corner kick. So after watching some replays, maybe learning from my opponents, and also just trying different things myself, just practice was the best thing. And finally, if you hit that wall, you just gotta keep going, and eventually you'll be past it.
Stermy?
Yeah. Well, I just want to add one thing about what Barmoa said. Preparing for events, it also depends on the game. Like you said, the FIFA has a training mode, but at the same time, there is no training mode in Quake. There are bots, you can play against the computer, but they're not even close to be as good as a real person. So I think that also depends on the game you were going to prepare for a particular event. because last year me and Barmoa played a championship game in series, and we both know that training was actually really important because you could master those little tricks that you couldn't really do while playing, because it takes quite a lot of time just to study the right position or all these little things. So anyway, going back to the question is, I personally practice online when tournaments kind of far away, from that. I just play a few hours a day, but then 1 or 2 months before the event, I start organizing a real boot camp. I usually travel different places, depends on where the event is. For example, if it's the United States, I always try to go there a month before, so I get used to the time zone and also habits, eating and so forth. I usually am really picky with the players I'm going to practice with. I always try to get the right balance, someone which is really defensive, someone who's really aggressive, and all these kind of little particulars that are going to help me prepare the best way possible. At the same time, I always try to invite to my bootcamp the best players, so they don't really know how I practice, and then how I'm going to be good, how good I'm going to be, and my playing style, and my own little tricks, and all these things. When I start my bootcamp, I usually wake up late in the morning, because most of the time I probably play till late at night. After waking up, I just do my breakfast, get ready, and start practicing for a few hours. Then in the afternoon, I always try to do a lot of sport activities. And then while I come back, I start practicing again. And I always try to get 6+ hours a day of just real practice. But just want to add one thing. I believe that practicing too much might not be that good. Meaning that you can't play 6 hours straight because when I go crazy, you need to have something else to do just to relax. For example, I read or I watch movies. I do a lot of sport activities that are going to take out stress and make me feel better as well. Because doing training is not as easy, because sometimes you just can't do what you actually want to do. You can get at that level you would like to be, and there are so many aspects to study, just not aim, but it's also timing. Sometimes it's just you're not the right mindset, too much. I think it's a good idea to have these little things that are going to take your mind away for a few hours while you're practicing. And while the event comes, I usually do all this. I'm going to try to visualize me winning the game. I always listen to music before matches. Get in the zone. Like Annie said, I have my helicopter headset, which everyone made fun of, because I was probably the first one who actually used them at the real tournament, and they're really big, something like that. But you can't go to tournament with so much people, screaming or watching your game, so you need to be in the zone, you need to be focused, and practicing is definitely important, but having a right mindset and be confident as well. It's probably also really important.
Dave, this is more of a question for you because you've been around longer. Have you seen an evolution or a change in the way that tournaments are done? I mean, I suppose all of you have been around long enough to know, but have you seen a really marked shift in the way it's done?
Fighting game tournaments are different than other types of tournaments, so I can't really speak to those other types too much. But I think there was a big shift in my genre, and as I mentioned, I was one of the founders of this big national tournament. So it's a fan effort, and it's amateur. It's like we're trying our hardest to put on this event. We're coming all over the world to play at it, and we want to have several games several different fighting games all at once, and how do you even logistically manage that, having 6 or 7 or 8 different fighting game tournaments simultaneously, in one location. We struggled with that. It was really hard. We pulled it off every year, but it was always like, we knew we could just do it so much better. Then I was part of Street Fighter Team USA, and went to Japan and played in a Japanese tournament. It was really different. And like a couple of the things I thought were stupid and hated them, but the majority of the differences, it wasn't that I liked them or disliked them. It was just like, well, why are they doing it this way? Why have they evolved in this other direction? And then when that tournament was over, like having gone through the whole thing, I got it. It's like, oh, that's why. They did it because all those little decisions along the way are for the spectators. That was the whole point. Every little thing was decided to maximize the spectators. And it stepped on the toes of players only barely, so it seemed worth it. And we actually changed our format after seeing our tournament. So one thing that changed was we used to run literally simultaneously. I mean, like over there is one fighting game being played and over here is another. And we went to a new system where if we have all these different games, we'll just take one, and from noon to 2 is qualifiers for that game. So every single game going on in the room you're in is for this particular fighting game. So that helps spectators, because if there's 6 games, maybe you only care about 1 or 2 of them, and now you know exactly what time to show up to watch all the qualifiers for that game. It's also logistically much easier because there's never a case where you call someone to play and they say, I can't play because I'm also playing in some other tournament. No, you're not. There is no other tournaments. So it helped logistically run it faster. But probably the most important thing we took from them, which is, I'm sure it's standard in every other tournament now, is we run all our tournaments to reach top 8 and then stop. And then the next day is only top 8. And that is awesome for spectators because they can just see the best players. And we do it 1 game at a time there too on stage. So if you come to our finals day, it's like game 1, here's the best players all in a row. Game 2, here's the best players all in a row. And it just is dramatically more fun to watch than it used to be. And that's important. I mean, we started out as players for players, but when you get to a certain size, we're still for players, but you have to take spectators into account. So that was the biggest shift for the tournaments that I personally participated in. But another shift outside of mine is stuff like WCG, where it's just they have so much money, it's crazy. That was like unheard of in my little days. Like I went to their San Francisco tournament and it was just unreal. I couldn't believe how much equipment and how many staff people and the production values were incredible. So it's becoming more and more funded and mainstream.
Have any of you other players seen any shifts or any changes?
Just like Dave said, more towards spectators. Really hasn't really stepped on any toes for players. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there was one instance where at CGS there was a bridge qualifier in 07 that was participating in, and they were just their starting year, and there was a qualifier where for FIFA they decided to use a different camera angle as an output, and to do that they had to do that within the game. So I know the players, me and I think it was Novice Day in particular, but everyone was having problems with this camera angle because once you get used to a certain angle and certain view, as far as like everything's concerned, passing, shooting, whatever, and you go to a different view, like they want to do like a broadcast view, which is more like a up top, like sky cam kind of thing. It was crazy. Like it was like we just picked up the game all over again. We couldn't shoot and stuff like that. Finally, it took them, I don't know, they had delayed like the semifinals and the finals just so that they could figure out a way to get the broadcast view as the output and let the players use whatever camera mode they wanted in game. So eventually they figured it out, but so every once in a while the change that they make for the spectators is kind of very detrimental to the players who actually compete.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You guys just boycott them?
Yeah, we were just like, we can't play, and pretty much they had to give in. So because they weren't going to budge, they were just like, just deal with it. This is how it is. Blah blah blah. The camera guys need this kind of angle, and so whenever it's for TV, whenever there's cameras involved, it gets a lot more like logistical, or it gets a lot more technical as far as settings.
In my experience, I've been to tournaments where the organizers have actually, like, they don't really even know the games that they're supposed to be admitting, and they might put rules or maps or, like if you're playing shooters, you have a map list that you normally practice and you play those maps, and they don't even know those map lists, and they, put other things or other maps that you haven't played before, or that aren't even used in competitive gaming, and that just shakes up everything because that's not what you've been practicing, and that's not even normal in competitive play. Like I went to a LAN last year, and the way they ran the tournament really affected our gameplay and our ability because they used perhaps it's like a 1v1 tournament, one versus one player, and then they used a huge map. And you couldn't even find each other, and it's like a really low scoring game versus a normal small scale map that would be more higher scored. So it really does matter, like that they find the proper people who actually know the game, perhaps people in the community to run these events, who have the knowledge and know what the community is normally, like what rules the community actually uses, and things like that. So.
Yeah, but I agree with you totally. That's a very good point. And in fact, you could say that's even a shift. As it's becoming bigger and bigger, it's more likely to encounter these tournaments that have bone-headed decisions and don't understand what the real rules should be. And if you try to play by it, it's changing the game. It's changing what the game is by having different tournament rules. So it's really not acceptable. You seem more lenient towards it. Like the communities I've involved in, they just tend to mock those tournaments and not go to them. Like it's got to be a certain way, or we're not interested.
Stermy, did you have something to add?
Yeah, before adding, I kind of understood the question, but when you asked it, I couldn't understand. So if you might repeat it.
Sure. I was asking if you've seen any shifts in the way that tournaments are conducted since you started competitive gaming.
So if you say something's not done right.
Yes. Or
Changed.
Changed or gotten better or worse.
Yeah, well, of course things got better with the time. It's everything, most of the things go that way. But personally, through my experience, I'm not gonna give names or anything, but a lot of tournaments promote themselves as professional. They call us real athletes, and we are professional gamer. But then when you go to the tournament, there are some changes. As for example, our monitor, which is so important if you play a first-person shooter, because if you play on a CRT monitor, which is those big ones with, but not the flat one, the really big ones, they're the best one for that kind of games. And then you get there and you find those super flat monitors, which are really, really bad. And then they tell you, that's how it is, you gotta play like that. And like, hey man, I've been practicing 7 months for this. It's not right. It's not right. And from that point of view, I believe that organizations and events they see us as professional. They see this as a sport. But there are those little things, and sometimes just because the organizers are not real professional gamers, they don't really understand that. So sometimes they need to, prepare better, have maybe someone in the staff that actually knows what's going on, what gamers use or like. So when you run a professional tournament, you're 100% sure that these athletes are going to be really comfortable, they're going to play their best, and they're not going to be problems. Because we have seen so many times that people complaining, real good players that probably would have won the big event, like a gold medal somewhere, got knocked out from the qualifier just because something wasn't right. And at the end of the day, I mean, it's like playing soccer on the field, and 5 minutes before the match, they go,
Oh, it was going to be a great analogy too. Let's see if we can get them. Are you going to? Yeah. I think as long as we have a little time to open it for the audience to ask some questions. Yeah.
I think
And then we're almost done with it. Yeah. If we,
With this kind of thing, you guys, especially if you're playing PC games, I guess, what about when the developer of the game changes the game before a tournament? You talk about changes that the organizing of the game. So you're playing, this actually happened at WCT 2004 with the game that I was refereeing, that the game was changed, was patched about 2 weeks ago.
107.
So that's a big change, right, to adjust to. So is there sort of is that a total disconnect? Is there nothing you can do about that with developers changing games, or is there any way? Do you know of any cases where that's been?
you hear me?
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry about that. We were just about to grade it out.
I'll look at the question.
Did you want to finish this?
What up? Great. Yeah, I just want to say one last thing. I mean, I was saying that it's like playing a really important soccer match, and 5 minutes before the match, you're just going to throw water on the field. I mean, all these players are just going to fall on the floor. It's just not right. So anyway, that's just a point I want to say. Besides that, I mean, there's been a lot of progression. Teams have been getting better and better with the time, of course. And we have seen a lot of tournaments organized so good. So mine wasn't a real complaint, and I just want to point it out. So because it still happens sometimes, and that's just one of the little things that sometimes happen.
Yeah.
At this point, we're going to open it up to you guys for questions. So if you've been holding back because I've been doing all the talking, now's the time to jump in.
Well, I'll just ask the question I just asked Stermy. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So I was asking just about game developers patching the game before a tournament. It's just another kind of a last-minute change to deal with, and I wondered if you guys, any of you had any examples of that, or any thoughts about how maybe that could be handled better, or whether it's just impossible to deal with game developers, whether you just have no control over what they do.
Okay, I only got a few. Sometimes the voice just goes away, but are you asking if, we've been working with game developers for those modification of the game that goes in at tournaments?
Well, yeah. Can you control that? Like, can you control whether a game developer makes a change to a game before a tournament, for example? It might really change the game, which would be a bad thing.
Yeah. Okay. So you're asking if like an update comes out before a tournament and change the whole game?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that happened. That happened a few times. Yeah. Well, if I remember correctly, in grade 4 that happened, and the organization actually said, we're going to use the old version. We're going to wait till the next tournament to use the new one. So players knew that they had to practice on the old version. But I have to say this, which is actually a really good point. I mean, all these companies actually make games right now. They made a multiplayer aspect of the game, and they don't just say, we made it, we're going to have fun, and then just going to release a few patches that are going to fix some problems, and then just don't care about the game anymore. In the past few years, I've seen that these companies are really interested and active in the community. So, for example, right now there's since Quake 4, but I believe even before, ID Software, which is the company that makes Quake series, I mean, they're really active. They want to hear what the community says about the game. They want to work together, to make a really good game that everybody can enjoy. So that's definitely a plus. I would like to see in the future more and more companies doing the same. Going back to your question, of course, that happened, but most of the time it happened everywhere in the West. And we have never seen, at least in my game, I don't recall like that. Maybe Counter-Strike or there and tell you better, or my games were probably never happened.
Well, to contrast with what he's saying, playing UT, the company makes it developer Epic Game. They released Unreal Tournament 3 with a lot of problems, and that was one of the main reasons why it didn't pick up in the tournament scene. They released the game with a lot of bugs, and it just was incomplete, for the PC, and the community was, so against it. They completely turned their backs on the game and, just went back to the old version of the game pretty much, or just quit playing it in general because, they decided later to release patches that would, fix some of the menus or spectators. And there's just so many problems with the game. And after probably 3 patches now, there's a type team or type, this huge patch that they released recently, and it's been already over a year, and people have already stopped playing. So they say it's bringing people back to the game, but it's already too late. They should have released a well put together game at first instead of this game that they were just trying to push and get into the market. So as far as patches goes, normally tournaments, in the rules, they do list what patches are going to be there, or they'll say the newest patches will be used, so you can kind of expect that a little bit. I haven't actually been to a tournament where they did switch it, right before that, but they normally do tell you ahead of time. Also, I wanted to say something about the TV or the monitors. It does make a huge difference in your gameplay, even in Guitar Hero, because the notes come at you so fast, and if you're
especially Guitar Hero.
Yeah, especially Guitar Hero, but the notes come at you so fast. Even if you're off like a millisecond, you could miss, and missing once could cost you the game. And it's difficult to change that in tournaments sometimes because the companies are sponsored, or the tournament is sponsored by a company that provides these monitors, so you can't really use something else because they're sponsors, and so you're kind of stuck with using what they provide. So either you go out and buy the TV and practice it at home to get used to it, or you're just going to have to learn to adapt, to get there. So.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because was it on the WCG Ultimate Gamer the first week, I heard complaints that there were monitor problems. Is that what
definitely.
you...
From my experience playing on those stems, and I'm not going to say anything about them, but it's just, there was lag, and you had to calibrate it, but even with that, it's very awkward and difficult to play.
Right.
So, and especially I'm pretty sure they didn't calibrate it, for the Ultimate Gamer show. So it's been really tough.
Yeah, that's super important. Fighting games are probably the most time-intensive genre, and tied with music games. Fighting games, everything is down to the 1/60th of a second. That's how the games are measured. And that's how you speak about them in terms of frames, or 60th of a second. So if you have even 1/60th of a second lag, that is a different game, and combos have different timings. So it's unacceptable, and I can totally imagine Guitar Hero being just as horrible to play with lag. So you mentioned being stuck with whatever monitors they have when you get there. Well, I was on the other end of that, and at our Evolution East Coast tournament one year, which I helped organize, we showed up on site, and the TVs that we ordered, there was some misunderstanding or something, and we got TVs that had lag. And we heard players practicing claiming lag, and so we did some tests and determined, yes, they are very laggy, and the event will start in 12 hours. So we do.
I'm very sorry to cut you off. We've got 2 more questions and then we're actually done. So let's get Eric and then we'll get Brian.
Okay.
And Stermy had a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Stermy.
I just want to add another thing about the monitor and all these issues. Usually gamers, usually tournaments, just for make sure there are not going to be complaints when people get there, they release their computer information or the setup information so gamers can see it, and then they can, at least that's what I do. I go and buy, for example, the same monitor, or so I can get used to that. And then when I go to the tournaments, I will not be surprised and unhappy.
My question was actually.
That was all.
Sorry. My question was actually about the. I still see a lot of the competitive games that are being placed in designed for like males or male demographics, and I was kind of wondering how, specifically for Annie as a female gamer functioning in tournaments, and then for everyone else who's been playing these for the years, like how has gender relations and gender norms and integration or all sorts of types of issues relating to the sexes come into this at all?
When I first joined my team, professional sponsor team, like I was flamed a lot on forums, and people would say a lot of like, oh, she's only on there because she's a girl, she's not really good, and even with my accomplishments and stuff, they overlook that and just say, oh, she doesn't deserve it, she's just there because she's female. But I think over time, like, when I actually meet these players and I actually play against them and I do beat them, they do have a lot of respect for you, and I think just people, if they don't know you, they tend to have this biased view, and they do give you a hard time about it, and you really have to prove yourself twice as hard as if you were a guy, I think, at least in my community. And you just draw more attention than normally girls, because there aren't that many girls. So as a few girls, everybody's talking about them and making a big deal out of nothing generally. So
We're going to jump to Brian. I'm sorry to cut you guys off.
This actually occurred to me during the discussion of hacking and updates and things like that. But you guys are all professional or competitive players. Playing games that are by and large designed for a mass audience. They are meant to sell a lot of copies. I know I'm a fighting gamer, so my numbers are a little skewed, but I guess he was expecting like 1,000 some odd people in the pool for Street Fighter 4. This is like 4. And that game sold like 8 copies for every man in the child on the planet. So what happens then when your large casual audience starts clamoring for a change, or the developers themselves, if it appears to be non-competitive? Do you think that developers have an obligation to what is frankly a serious minority of of their user base? You're just not going to buy as many copies. So how much should developers be catering to competitive and professional play?
Am I the only game developer here?
Can I get Bardia to answer first?
Sure.
Sure. I've seen that actually happen a couple times with FIFA. And EA Sports is more towards gearing like the game, for everyone rather than just the minority, like the competitive gamers. One big issue I know has come up several times is that for PC, it's a completely different version than the Xbox 360 version or the PlayStation 3 version of FIFA 09. FIFA 09 on the ball physics and the game engine are completely different than what they run on PC. Internationally, I guess they're selling a lot more copies PC-wise for FIFA, and so what they're doing is that they're not really going to upgrade FIFA version of PC to next gen just because of they want to keep the minimum specifications or minimum requirements low so that everyone can play that. And that seems to be a problem because if you want to play in like FIFA 9 tournaments for PC as well as FIFA 9 tournaments for like PlayStation 3 or Xbox 360, the Xbox 360 and PS3 version are the same. They're like ports of each other pretty much. But as like the PC version is completely different. So trying to play both is basically trying to learn how to play a new game each time. So as far as that goes, they do kind of tend to cater more towards, you know, general consumer base. I feel like they should maybe try to balance it more. I don't know, maybe I think they can scale graphics and some requirements, you know, often maybe both versions on PC for those who have, you know, a need to play like the next gen version on PC or have the system requirements that meet those requirements or system specs that can meet those requirements, then they should, you know, release maybe a version into that. But as far as EA Sports goes, they usually cater to the general audience. It's more about them than it's about.
Dave, if you want, you have 2 minutes for rebuttal, and then we have to stop.
Well, so should you design for everyone or for the super hardcore? If you want to be flash in the pan and sell a lot of release date, then you want to design for casual players only. But and that's a business strategy. You can take that strategy. If you want to have an enduring brand that lasts years and years, I think you probably should care about the competitive community. Like look at StarCraft. StarCraft still sells a lot, and it's because they catered to the hardcore, not to the exclusion of everyone else, but they made sure that they were happy. So whether the game is Street Fighter or StarCraft or whatever Valve is making, so it seems like the best companies, when I look at their games, they do satisfy the hardcore. And again, it's a false dichotomy. I don't think that necessarily means it's going to fail for everyone else. It's just one more thing to be conscious of as development.
All right, we're going to stop then. Thank you guys very much.